Now, a report by the Defence Committee has concluded that the UK Armed Forces have key capability and stockpile shortages and are losing personnel faster than they can recruit.
Joining us now is military analyst Shan Bell. Hi there, Shan. Just how underprepared are Britain's armed forces for what could be all-out war in the future?
Yeah, good morning, Nick. Morning, Rosie. I mean, this report, the House of Commons Defence Committee report, Ready for War, was it is worth sending some context. Obviously, it's a political process. There's all politicians looking at it. We are in an election year, and of course, you know, the individual services, as we've heard a lot in the news, are using the opportunity to champion for more money. What the committee did do very effectively was identify that whilst the armed forces are doing a great job, they are only resourced to do a certain number of specific tasks. Now, inevitably, those defence planning assumptions, as they're called, never actually play out. And the politicians are very good at overusing the military more than they provision to do. And of course, inevitably, one of the good things about the service is they've got a can-do attitude. And that means that some areas of the military are running white hot at the moment. All those service personnel, men and women, are serving their country with great pride and actually love doing the job. But they get burnt out. And frankly, that means they leave before they were hoping that we retain them for longer. And therefore, they've got a problem with recruiting and leaving. And that is starting in some parts of the services to cause a real problem.
Also, occasionally we're seeing reports of sort of setbacks, quite embarrassing stories as well. We know over the weekend, HMS Queen Elizabeth was supposed to be leading this huge NATO exercise, and there's a problem with the propeller and it's not ready to go.
Yeah, it's unfortunate timing, I think, Rosie, that one. I mean, it happened on exactly the same day as this House of Commons Defence Committee report came out. We've got two of the biggest carriers we've ever had. They are amazingly impressive bits of equipment. I understand that as a precautionary measure, they had a problem with the starboard prop shaft of the carrier. It's a different problem, apparently, than they had with the Prince of Wales, and therefore they're transferring the responsibility for this exercise across to Prince of Wales. But it is one of those challenges. I flew, you know, when we had the newest Harrier GR5s in service, and any new platform for a couple of years does have a few teething troubles. It's these are bespoke carriers. They're immensely powerful, immensely capable, and yeah, I think it's unfortunate timing rather than anything else.
Perception's really important, though, isn't it?
It absolutely is, Rosie, and I think the part of the issue here, I mean, I think it's unfortunate when you talk about the carriers, that with the conflict rising in the Red Sea and the Middle East, you know, the US have got carrier groups moving all over the place around the world to try to respond to what's going on. And yet our carrier groups, we have both carriers tied up alongside. And I think part of that is that making sure that we have provisioned all of the areas of defence appropriately. For example, the carrier, it's not just about the carrier, it's a whole series of ships that sail with it. One of those areas is a dry storage ship at Port Victoria. They've only got one of them. It's not very serviceable at the moment, and there are not replacements for 3 years. And you're only as good as your weakest link when you're looking at these sorts of capabilities. And that's where sometimes defence struggles.
Sure. We've got, obviously, the situation in Ukraine, and we've got a growing and contagious conflict in the Middle East. To what extent does the armed forces in this country need to be able to scale up to a sense of readiness that could call at any moment? I mean, we've only got 140,000 regular armed service personnel. Majority of those are in the army. Does it need to grow? Do we need to grow our capability with our state of readiness so that we can respond to these threats that appear to be more present than they were, say, 10 years ago?
Yeah, Nick, I mean, I think the problem with some of the media at the moment is obviously we've even got President Trump talking about World War III, and that's putting a sense of fear. I've been approached several times over the last 48 hours asking, you know, really worried parents, are we about on the brink of war? Well, we're not. What the defence planning assumptions periodically, there's a whole close review of where the conflicts might rise in the world, what our role would be in those conflicts. And don't forget, it's not our responsibility alone in the world. We look after our national defence. We've got a bristling 24/7 capability, highlighted by the Royal Air Force that with their Typhoon Force at Quick Reaction Alert that is available 24/7. The Navy's the same, the Army's the same. If we want to deploy forces to look after national interests overseas, we do that via NATO. And that's the best, most cost-effective way of us getting our military capability. And bluntly, defence is an insurance policy against an uncertain world. And although you cite a couple of conflicts, Russia bizarrely, having invaded Ukraine, is less capable of causing a threat now to the rest of Europe because it's been so badly mauled in that conflict. And when you look at the conflict in the Middle East, yes, we're doing a lot of reports about that, but the harsh reality there, as the Iranians have said, America, step in and stop Israel fighting the war in Gaza, and then these escalations will stop. That doesn't put us on the brink of World War III, but it is very concerning inevitably for all of us.